Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity, and Love. Amazing guests, incredible insights. Also, guests sometimes take steps with angels on the show. Wait around towards the end of the show. You'll smell sage through two screens. We do that all the time. I'm super excited from Sweden today. A SuperSoul 100 teacher, and much more than that. She's an author, speaker, motivator, mentor, coach, you name it. Also, super plugged in with the universe, really high vibration. We have Gordana Biernat. I'd like to thank her for being on the show and welcome.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much for having me. This is so great. I love this.
Well, I'm very excited to have you on. This is we've chatted before. I know you're completely connected, intuitive, whatever the expressions are, but very fun energy, very inspiring. You help people on Twitter. You have a very large following there, over 300,000. So thank you very much for coming on the show. Could you tell us, how did you get on this path of motivating, inspiring others, holding presence, I would say, and just being love in general, sharing your love for all? And sometimes it's very subtle how you do it. How did you get onto this path? What happened to attune you to this possibility?
Well, it's really very hard to pinpoint one point in time because, for one thing, I don't see time as linear. So it's very hard for me to jump back and say this made a difference. I think for me, it's always been about the light. So I'll go back to the first memory I have of this, and I am 3 years old. I am sitting in my aunt's backyard. This is in Serbia because I lived there as a little child. My mother left me in Serbia when I was 4 months old, and she lived in Sweden. I lived in Serbia. So I was left there for 6 years. Anyway, I was 3 years old, and I am sitting in the backyard of my aunt's yard. And I'm looking at the plaster of the facade, and it's apricot. That's the color of it. And I don't remember what I think because I'm only 3 years old, but I do remember being fascinated by the minerals or the stones in this facade playing with the light. This is late afternoon, and I'm looking at it, and I see it as stars. I look at it and I feel like it's stars. I do not remember what I thought. I just feel that there is light there, and it's fascinating to me. I am curious about the light. And the next time this happens, where I feel that I'm really connected to light and I remember it very well, is when I'm 11 years old. I'm standing in the window. Now I am in Sweden living with my parents, which is not, I don't feel good there. But I'm standing at the window looking out, and it is a February night. It's crispy outside. I mean, I can see far, far away, and I can see all the stars. And I'm looking at them, and then I close my eyes, and I still see stars in my imagination. I can see the stars. And then I open my eyes, there are the stars. Close my eyes, stars again. So I realize that there is no boundary between my imagination and the universe. There is no boundary between it. It's one and the same thing. And this sense, like electricity through my body, I feel it, and I can't share it with anyone. I'm 11 years old and I can't put words to this, but I know that this is a profound thing that I've, you know, fallen over or stumbled upon. And I understand that this is important to me. It's as above, so below. Now, I happen to be born on the 11th November, 11 minutes past 11 at night. So there are many 11s in my identity, so to speak. And it is more about as above, so below, understanding that as outside, so within, as above, so below, and I am at the center of it. I understood this in a very intuitive way without being able to speak it, so to speak. So that was one of those illuminating moments where I felt that I see the world differently than maybe other children my age. And then one thing that really put me on a different path was I had a car accident when I was 17 years old. My father was driving and we were going on a vacation. again in the Balkans, and something happened. I fell asleep and I woke up looking out through the front window, seeing a truck coming towards us, very, very in high speed. And in that moment, I realized that this is my last breath. And what happened there, it's like I made time become elongated. It wasn't short as it should have been. It just stopped. And I looked, and then I thought many, many thoughts. I had the time to think many thoughts. Before we went on this vacation, I just have to mention this because I lived a life that was, well, I didn't feel good with my family because I didn't know who they were when they brought me back from Serbia living with my aunt. So I didn't actually know who they were, and they weren't nice to me. I had a bad childhood. So many times I had the thought that it would be easier not to be alive. It would be easier than being alive in this constellation that I was brought into at the age of 6. So I was playing around with that thought. And in this car accident, I'm hanging there in the air. It's almost like the universe presents me with an opportunity to see what is it that I actually want. And I'm thinking, I'm not afraid. It's okay. I can die. I am 17 years old and I'm thinking this thought. I can die. It's okay, as long as it doesn't hurt. This I remember very strongly saying, as long as it doesn't hurt. And in that moment, there is a piece of glass hovering through the air and it stops. And I see the morning sun coming up and it hits the light, the white light from the morning sun hits this little piece of glass and it turns into all the colors of the rainbow. And I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, oh my God, life is so beautiful. And that's when I think I chose to stay in this life. I closed that door that I was looking at before. I closed it and I felt wonderful. The car stopped. I walked outside and I could see my father and he was coming closer to me. I'm looking at him and I'm thinking, how come he is so small? Because I've always experienced him as a large man, bigger than me. And after this, I could see him almost from above, looking down at him. And I'm thinking, what happened to him? It feels like he shrunk or something. The grass was so green and the sky was so blue. It was hyper reality for me looking at this. I could sense my true size in a way. And it made me realize that I am light. I connected to this light and I'm supposed to explore this life. There are no obstacles. The biggest obstacle in my life up to that point was my father, because he was dominating. He wanted certain things to be done in a certain way. He wasn't healthy, but at that time, this was, when I was a child, it was 1970s and nobody talked about mental illness. He didn't get any help. And he created a schizophrenic atmosphere in our home, which I had to live in. So for me to release myself from that in this car accident and look at him and see him, how small he is, see his ego, see the darkness that is around him, and realize that I'm not a part of it. I don't need to be entangled with it. That put me on a path where I could free myself from that. And then there are many other moments in my life that look like this, like the birth of my son or meeting my husband. All of these things, all of them have, in a sense, with light to do and remembering that light. So I can't pinpoint one moment. I can look back at them, and I gave you 3 now. And if you have time, we'll talk more about the other ones later on. But I always feel like we always have to talk about several moments in life, because there's not only one moment changing everything. Then you really have to, have a real near-death experience that might change you. But otherwise, it's always small moments, collecting those small moments in order to understand who I am as a person and what makes me tick. So in a sense, I am looking for the light everywhere. I usually say this when I meet an obstacle, when there is an obstacle in my way, I will turn this obstacle in all directions until I find the brightest entry point, and that's where I go in. I do not choose the darkest spot. I'll take time to find the light in that obstacle, and that's where I enter it. Always, never the other way around. So I think this has been a pattern in my life since I was a child, but now I know how to utilize it and how to express it so that I can help other people.
Lovely. Okay, if there's a soul's journey, a unique life path, a personal path, us opening openness, the gateless gate here, discovering ourselves, our truth, can you describe first what is the concept of this, how we're each on our own exploration, and how that's the most important thing? It's more real than the actual waking reality we think we have daily. It's what we're here for, what you just described in the car in a way. Can you talk to us a little more about that to give us context, how we're all connected this way? We're all sojourners, explorers.
Well, I would use maybe a sun analogy to do this. If you see the sun as the source to each and every one of us, then every one of us is like a sunbeam that shoots out from this source. Now, this sunbeam has its own path, and it might feel lonely because it's just one sunbeam. You don't see lots of sunbeam crossing each other coming from the sun. They all radiate out from the sun with their own paths. So this is why, for instance, I can't change you. I can look at you from my sunbeam, looking at you and saying, you might try what I'm doing here, and you can look at it and be inspired by it and then change. But I can't put my sunbeam to cross your sunbeam and say, do this. I cannot violate that. That's an illusion in this world. We think we can do that, but we can't. So we all have the same source, and we're all sunbeams from this source radiating out. We're all on our way. We'll probably go back to the same source again, but we have different paths coming from the same source. So if I know my source, knowing that I am the stillness, I am the sun, I would also know who you are, because you're the same. You're the stillness and you're the sun. Now, if I want to know what you're doing here, I would ask you, what are your desires, your dreams, your fears, your worries? And all of that is held by the ego. So if I want to know what you're doing here, I actually have to ask you what your ego desires here, because I already know who you are. If I can see your soul, then I can be forgiving for what your ego is choosing to explore in this world, if it's not the same as my ego is choosing to explore. But we're all on a path coming from the same source, and we cannot interfere with each other's paths, but we can inspire each other to become more or to know more about the source. Now, if you don't know your source, the sunbeam is very, very thin. The more you know your source, the more you allow that source to go through this sunbeam, and it becomes bigger, and more of the sunbeams can see that sunbeam. But it's all about knowing who you are. And it's not about doing it on social media. When you radiate knowingness, knowing who you are, you will attract people everywhere, and they will try to speak to you because they want to know how you are doing it. They want to know, they want to be in your light, so to speak. It feels good to be in your light. You become more authentic when you do that. I hope I answered your question.
Beautifully. Okay, so if we look at Christmas Carol, Scrooge, whether it's the movie, the 79-page book, Charles Dickens, the beginning of that story, everyone knows him as the mean old guy. He was dental floss, thinness for that light. I mean, very little
Yes.
about money and nothing else. Poor Bob Cratchit, not even a lump of coal
Yes.
for him. Okay,
Yes.
but we forget how quickly he transforms, and in the middle of like a dream, lucid dream and experience, he really, they went at him with cricket bats basically and got him flipped around. And he made some decisions. By the end of the book, 79 pages later, his light is so much broader. It's not dental floss anymore. And in fact, he radiates so much. He's a good business person. He's a joy bringer. He's a joy carrier. And people find themselves waving to him and coming over to chat with him by the end of the story. How can we cultivate that light within? Can you talk to us just a little bit more about how do we flow more, glow more, allow more, love more?
Mm.
Gordana, what do we do?
It's about the willingness. It's always about the willingness to kill your darlings. Now, let me explain what I mean by this. Ego will keep you a prisoner to bad vibrations from your past, and it becomes a part of your identity in a way. So when you present yourself, you will always be talking from the past. Now, if you decide to kill these darlings, which is darlings of the ego, if you're willing to sacrifice your ego for some light, then it's easier for you to allow that light through you. I'll give you an example. The way I talk about ego is not a negative thing. Ego is neutral. It's neutral because it is as a container. Now, this glass would be an ego. The soul is the water. If you do not have an ego, your soul is spread all over all that is. So if you want boundaries, then, or a human experience, that means that you need boundaries, and ego will give you those boundaries. That is what ego does. It separates you from all that is. That's its real purpose here. What happens is that ego will be transparent, and soul can see the world through your personality. It can see the world through your personality. If you become like Scrooge, you do not give anything, you just hold on to everything, you're not happy, you're focused on the bad things that has happened to you, you're not willing to sacrifice your darlings from the past, darlings in quotation mark, this glass becomes darkened. It's like soot on the glass, and soul cannot see. And you lose your purpose here because soul wants to explore this reality through your personality, but you need to keep your personality crisp and clear and high frequency. If you allow the lower frequencies, the glass becomes tainted and soul cannot see. And that's how the ego tricks the soul that it is alone. There is no one else. It's not connected to God, source, sun, whatever it is. It's not connected. So it makes you feel alone. And that is what Scrooge does. He feels alone, but he doesn't know how to deal with this. So what you need to do is to polish the glass, become the owner of your ego, use the ego as a tool. Instead of allowing ego to drive you with fears and worries, you have to tap into your dreams and wishes. And that's how you turn the darkness of the ego into something that might help you on your journey here, because your purpose here is contained by the ego. So becoming more aware of your intentions, becoming more aware of why you're doing certain things. Is it ego that wants this, or is it actually you, the soul, that wants to explore this? And I'll tell you one thing, if it's a negative thing, then it is ego putting screens over your eyes, like filters over your eyes. So you have to become more present in the now moment and ask yourself, what is it that I want with this? What's my intention with this? What do I really want? And if you're brutally honest with you, you will be, you will come very close to when ego is active. The good part of this, as soon as you become aware of where your ego is active, you can also see when other people are ego activated, when they're in reaction mode, when they're in fear, and you can see how ego drives them. And you can be kind to them if you have learned how to be kind to yourself when you feel that ego is pushing and pulling and tugging and doing its dance to keep you asleep. So I think that becoming aware of when ego is activated. If you feel that you're in reaction mode, if you see just one choice, if you have no more choices, then be certain that it is ego activation going on within you.
Kindness counts. Okay.
Kindness counts, yes.
So if I go big picture, but can you bring it back to all of us? Because some people watching are like longtime healers, others are kind of
Mm-hmm.
first timers just coming in and trying to grasp what
Mm-hmm.
they can grasp. If love's
Mm-hmm.
the fabric of the universe, love is in everything, which you said before. I loved it. I stopped in my tracks
Mm-hmm.
as I was looking at stuff last week or last night.
Mm-hmm.
If love isn't everything, and I remember Mary said, love isn't everything, open your eyes to see love. So each moment is your opportunity for more growth, expansion, more love.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more, if everything's made of light, how can we slow down out of here to appreciate it more, to allow more, to connect to all there is, to just shine and be? How do we grasp all this? You are so good at raising the vibration, raising our
Mm-hmm.
focus this direction. What do you have to say to that?
Well, you said it yourself. I think you channeled the answer. You said, how do we slow down? Slow down. I think we're conditioned to answer quickly, which puts us in reaction mode. If you feel that you need to answer quickly, stop. There is all the time in the world. There is nothing that needs your attention and answer immediately. My mother used to tell me when I was younger, because she was preparing me for marriage and husband and all that. And we did not have the same ideas, that I can tell you. But anyway, this was one thing that I really enjoy now as a grown-up. She used to tell me, listen, if you're in an argument with your husband, pick up a glass of water, take a sip, and hold the water, she would say. And I would go, why would I hold the water? And she's like, hold the water. And I know now why, because she didn't want me to react. Now, she had another version of this. She thought that a husband is more worth than a wife, and the wife needs to listen to the husband. But I'll take that analogy and say, hold the water, because it gives you time to think. And when you can think, you can choose not to react. You can choose to act instead. And that brings you into the now moment. So slow down and do not fall prey for this, hurry, worry energy. You don't need to answer everything immediately. You can give yourself, and we're talking about a few seconds. We're not talking about 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We're talking about a few seconds. When you feel that the energy is wrong in you, when you feel that it is holding you back, you can do this with people that you trust. For me, it's my son. He has been my teacher. He's 26 years old now. And for 26 years, he has been the best teacher I have ever had, because he sees through me. He can see when I'm agitated. He can see when my ego is activated, even before I can see it myself. So he will tell me, no, this is not okay. You need to back off and think. And I know that he's right, because I love him. I love him unconditionally. And even if it doesn't feel like that, I want to fight, I want to do something because I love him unconditionally. I will withdraw, rethink, and come back. Usually when I withdraw, rethink, I feel what happened and why I was agitated. And it's always some childhood memory that puts a filter over my eyes and makes me behave like a 6-year-old, because that was when these patterns were brought into my consciousness, so to speak, by my father and other people who weren't kind to me as a child. And if I sense something of that energy when I speak to my son, which probably isn't the truth, it is my mind playing tricks with me, then I know that my ego has hijacked my mind and I need to withdraw, find the truth, and come back. Because it can never be the truth. If I think that my son is trying to hurt me, then my ego is lying to me. I know this for certain. So this exercise can be done with people you love and trust and whom you love unconditionally. To be able to say, listen, I can't have this conversation right now. I need to pull back, and I'll come back to you when I have, found myself again. So slow down and do not answer immediately if you feel the urge to say something that you will regret later on, because it's the ego wanting its energy, wanting its, dinner. It wants It wants the energy from you. So if you want to own your ego, you need to be the master of it, and you need to feel when that urge comes up. That's the sacrifice I'm talking about. The sacrifice is do not react. Ego wants you to do that. We all know how that feels. You get, you react. Of course, sometimes you need to react because there's real danger. What I'm talking about is when you're in a conversation with someone that you love, you don't need to react. You can pull back a little bit, slow down, give yourself time to think.
Nice. Okay. The universe is really big. I'm not sure most of us in our daily lives are appreciating how big, how ready to assist us with our desires, our dreams, just being more, being. How can we tap into that? Can you explain how you view the dynamics? I know Esther Hicks talks about it one way with Abraham Hicks, possibly group of light beings. Seth from the New Age, 1970s, James.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, light being talked about how it's nothing that you're trying to get done, more love, success, your unique life path is going to be found externally. It's got to go through the world you knew, your version of reality here into a broader reality. Peaceful Warrior, the movie, gymnastics, but Way of the Peaceful Warrior, Dan Millman, really a spiritual, fun opening book. The garage station attendant who's like a Mr. Miyagi out of Karate Kid. It's an adult Karate Kid story. He talks about how it's the one place no one wants to go, your heart. And that's where all the action is. And again, others have said the same thing. Not to be found externally, it's here. And that's maybe the hero's journey or the journey. Can you take all that and the universe and remind us how an alchemist, universal forces are in place to help us? If you would just let go a little more up here and allow, how does that all work? Talk to us about frequency, vibration, the attunement, as you said. Remember the knobs.
Well, you have to have an image of all of this. Otherwise, it becomes it becomes an unknown map for you. And my map is really easy. And that's why I can go back to it very often. It's like a circle with a dot at the center. So my true self and the truth of all of this lives at the center. That is where the stillness is. And that is the core of me. That stillness is always within me. That is where it vibes on such a high frequency that everything is possible at the center. But it's also total stillness. Nothing is going on. It's the observer within me, or God within me. And then you have the movement in this circle that I'm talking about. Everything that is outside of that center is moving. It is energy in motion. There are people, there are things, the world is there. But it's also like the quantum field is everything and nothing at the same time. So it's moving, shifting like a storm around me. If I am present in that center, if I'm present in the stillness of who I am, then I will catch things that are moving around. I will catch them. Sometimes I'll catch something that I actually want and I will enjoy it. I will bring it to the center and allow it to become a part of me. Sometimes when I'm not aware, when my ego is overly active, it will catch something else, something that I worry about, something that makes me feel uncomfortable. And if I do not know how to let that go, then that becomes a part of me too. So I am the gatekeeper of all the things that are going around me. I am the gatekeeper of it. Becoming more attuned with what I want is to become more, is to vibe on a frequency which is my purpose here, and bringing in things that I need or want or desire to become a part of me. Sometimes I need something and I don't know, but my higher self knows. So it will bring it in. Say that it brings in an obstacle. My human will perceive this as such a great obstacle. How am I going to deal with this? My higher self says, find the brightest side, enter, and take the golden nugget. Learn something from this. This is an area that you need to learn something from. So I will keep it, even if it's hot or I don't want it, and I'm looking for the brightest side of it. entering that bright side with love, compassion, understanding. And understanding is a big thing when it comes to frequencies with me. Love is a very high frequency, but understanding comes very close to that frequency, because you can't love unless you understand. Now, I ask myself, stand under what? Because English is not my first language, so I dissect all the words and I play with them. So standing under what? Well, standing under my highest self. When I'm standing under my highest self, there is so much light that I understand the relationships, I understand what this obstacle is, and I can do something about it. So I need to understand the obstacle, my relationship to it, and being brutally honest to myself, seeing that, okay, maybe I need to shift something within me in order to not see this as an obstacle anymore. And when I'm done with it, it becomes a part of my personality. I bring it into the center. I give it to God or soul or whatever it is that is trying to explore this reality with me. So looking at it with this easy map can make it easier to, you know, to walk through life regardless of what it throws at you. Because know this, the movement out there is, this too shall pass. This is eternal. The center of you is eternal. So everything will pass. Even if you hold on to an obstacle too long, time will make it pass anyway. So it's your job to either penetrate it, explore it, shift it. I think that we come to this world in order to transform negative energy into positive manifestations. And that is what happens when it goes from your higher self all the way down to this physical body. So if you have something that is of a negative energy, and there is things of negative energy on the physical plane, because this is a world of polarity, we chose it. So we come down here to explore polarity. If you find something that is of a negative energy vibing in your way, so to speak, it's your job to transform this into a positive manifestation. You can make someone who is very angry, maybe you can make them laugh or make them feel better, and you will be transforming that energy into a positive manifestation. We're all magicians here anyway. That is what we're supposed to do with stuff, so that we will create a reality which is based on positive manifestations here. That being said, it's not about no negativity. It's always going to be there. It's a question of what we do with it, so to speak.
Okay. There's a lot of Zen history, Buddhism, Shinto, everything. And there's a lot of those allegories, Q&A. They show a teacher talking with a Zen student. So I've got to give one example. A Zen student comes running up to the teacher. When they ask these questions, they're always trying to prove that they've arrived here. They've kind of graduated from class. And then the teacher usually slaps them back down and is like, go back to work. You got to practice on being. So the student comes running up to the Zen master and says, what about my own nature? And the teacher just says, is there anything you dislike? And so you talk about beliefs and a personal beliefs for folks, and how once you either understand yourself better or move past your personal beliefs, that's when you get to discover your truth. And if you could you address that as part of the beginning of the bigger journey? How when you begin that self-exploration, it's so important to pay attention. But I also want to tie this into, because we're hitting it right now. Here's your book, and I'm trying to get the book cover so it doesn't reflect.
Yes.
But could you
Yes,
tell us a little
perfect.
bit first about the context of the book and then how it relates to this journey, what you do for folks? Let's hear you. I'm going to be very gentle here so that you can answer it, but you show the way, and it's how people can enjoy more, breathe more, have more space emotionally, and experience a smoother path. I'll say it that way. But can you take over here, just the book, the journey, the this, the that, the beliefs, the more love, the awareness stuff?
Well, the book was something, let me begin in another end here. I have an academic background because I studied art for a very, very long time. I have a master's degree in art, psychology, and media and communication. When you get stuck in the academic world, You think that everything you write needs to be peer reviewed. Everything you write needs to be intellectual. Everything you write needs to be on a certain level language-wise. And for me, that stopped me from writing this book for at least 4 years. The fear of not being good enough when I wrote the book stopped me from writing it for 4 long years. And I could not, that was an obstacle where I could not find any bright spots. It's like I had the book, I could flip it in my mind, but I could not read the words. It was like I could feel the heaviness of the book. I could even see some kind of cover, which by the way is very close to the cover that it actually has in real life. And so I started tweeting on, my husband wanted me to start tweeting because I was speaking so much about things, and I was frustrated because I was working at a place, I was working as a masterclass leader at Hyper Island. It's a big company working with advertisement bureaus and stuff. And as a masterclass leader, I did not put out my own thoughts. I had to channel other people's thoughts, and I had to tweet about what other people were saying. And I was so frustrated because, of course, my higher self made me frustrated because I had something to say and I was hiding it. Hiding it because I'm not writing my book, and hiding it because I'm standing on a stage, but I'm not speaking. I'm doing things for other people. And so I came home one night and he said, listen, this is not okay. You need to do something with this energy. So he had this idea that I would start tweeting. This was 2012 or 13 or something. So there were 140 characters, I think, or 140 characters. And I'm thinking, how am I supposed to boil down existential thoughts about who we are and why we are here on 140 characters in English, because English wasn't my first language. But then something happened. I started writing in English, and people started connecting to this. And I felt the joy of sharing this knowledge. And I also felt the joy of boiling it down to small sound bites of really esoteric knowledge. It gave me so much joy. And I did it with my heart wide open while I did it. I did not think about, is this academic enough? Are there going to be peer reviews here? And is this going to be a negative experience? No, I just felt it was a beautiful experience. And then I think it was a year later, we were sitting in our garden and my husband came with a piece of paper. That's me. Exactly. My power talk at Twitter. Follow me there. So he came with a piece of paper and there were half a page was written words, and he gave it to me and I read it and I'm thinking, but when did I write this? I don't remember. I know that I wrote this, but when did I write this entire thing? And he says, well, there's weeks apart, these sentences. Now, this one you wrote 2 weeks ago, and this one was 4 weeks ago. And when you put them together, the tweets, these were the tweets. He found tweets and put them together. They made sense. It was like a flowing text, as if I had written it in one breath. And in that moment, I realized that, oh my God, I have already written this book. It's out there. It's like the universe tricked me, or since I didn't know what was best for me, it showed me the way without me realizing that it was so. So I just pulled in everything from Twitter, from that part of, 2012 to 2014, pulled it in and started looking at it and started writing a little bit more to, explain a little bit more about the tweets. But the tweets are actually the thing that holds the book together. And they're all synchronistically put there. So you can open the book, read wherever you are. It will always give you what you need. And that is what I am doing since I can remember that I have been doing. It's a question of remembering who you are in every now moment. And my book helps you do that. If you have something that worries you, if you have something that you're wondering about, you can just think of a number between 1 and 231 and then look the number up, and it will give you a hint. It will give you an answer. It might even put you in a certain frequency so that you will remember who you are, and it makes it easier for you to make a choice in your life. And that's this, yes.
So
This
if
is how
I
it
go to
looks.
your book and I'm having a
Yeah.
hard moment, I can think of a number between 1 and 231, and 57
Yes.
pops up. I open it up to page 57. I'm likely to find some inspiration that I relate to, and I'll be very surprised, and I'll be
Oh,
opened up a little bit. 57?
I will open 57. I will open it up here, and it's not the page, it's actually the tweet. I'll show you how it looks like. This is how it looks like, and I will read it for you.
Yes, please.
Okay. The funny part was, before we started here, I opened 55 for you. I was thinking about you and I'm saying, oh, I wonder what Michael's number is. So I'll read the 57 first, and then I'll read the 55. So close. And maybe we'll read the 56 also.
Let's do it.
Yes, I'm reading the number 55, and it says, reality has no meaning of its own. You give it meaning by what you perceive and define it to be. Change your mind and everything changes. So that one was your pick, and I'll find my pick for you.
I love it.
The fun aspect of a limitation is the creative act it takes to transform it into freedom. Now that's connected to what we were talking about, transforming negative energy into a positive manifestation here. Now let's read 56 too. And it says, we do not observe reality, we observe our reactions to it. In other words, reality is, in essence, neutral. You give it meaning. Now, the first part here, we observe our reactions to it, is a really important thing when you start on a journey of self-discovery. You cannot discover yourself unless you're able to get outside of yourself and look at your reactions. And here's a tip. This is what I do when I feel that I'm stuck in something. I would take a couple of deep breaths, and I will start thinking of myself as my human. So I would say, I wonder why Gordana is doing what she's doing. And with a loving eye, I would look at her and I would say, oh, I get it. She thinks that those people don't like her, or she thinks that she's not good enough. Oh, but that's not true. I know Gordana. And I talk to Gordana as I would talk to my son or a friend or someone that I feel is not kind to themselves. So I will jump outside myself and I will look at the reactions with a loving eye and give them the benefit of the doubt, to say that, not listening to the human will say, because I'm not good enough, or because I'm stupid, or because no one loves me, or whatever it is. I go outside and I look at it and I say, I wonder why Gordana is doing this. And then with a loving eye saying, oh, I get it. This is why she's doing it. And kindly bring her back to me so she will understand it too. So I'm looking at the reactions, and that is one, I feel like that is a thing that anyone can do anytime. You don't need preparations. You just need to be able to go back into the stillness and then look at what is your human doing in the movement with loving eyes. This is very important, to not judge. If you're judging, you are not looking at the reactions. You're still in ego.
Very poignant, very amazing. Okay, speaking of which, how do we develop this? How do we cultivate a deeper awareness? Because everyone should be nodding and agreeing, but putting it into practice, there's the rub. What it is to be human, the eternal questions. You know, it's like Casablanca, the movie. I'm shocked to see there's gambling going on at the casino. The gendarme chief of police says, as he's getting his winnings, so that's thinking in the casino. It's going on nonstop. And how do we pull out of this? How do we just buy ourselves breathing space to say, oh my God, I've got it all right now, like you just talked about. I just have to pay attention more. Talk to us about, what can a person do to go full stop, or just find that center of the circle, the dot, the stillness? How can they expand that dot so that it is one with all?
Yeah, it's a big question, because everybody has their own path and there are different things that you might be needing to do. But a universal thing is to breathe. breathing will always bring you back where you need to be. Because if you're too much in your head, then that is a sign that you're not breathing enough. When you start breathing, you connect to your heart space and it sends signals to your brain saying it's all good, which means that you will be able to see more opportunities because there is no fear. When you are in fear mode, and we are all conditioned to fear mode here. I mean, if you have a body, then of course there is a default where you're looking for things that might kill you. So you're in survival mode. But you also have a heart and you have a connection between your heart and your mind. And as a human, you know that you have a higher self. So your body might die here, but who you truly are cannot be hurt by anything here. That's A Course in Miracles. That is one sentence that I take from the entire Course of Miracles. If you want to remember one thing, then it is who you truly are cannot be hurt by anything. Which means that if you can go to that place where you know that you cannot be hurt by anything, you can feel a stability going on there. You can feel that it's okay. This too shall pass is also one of those sentences you need to put out there, on your refrigerator, like who I truly am cannot be hurt by anything, and this too shall pass. And that will put you in a place where you trust that the universe will bring you what you need. Your job is to find the golden nugget in it and release the rest. Let me give you another example of this. The more I know that your listeners or watchers here are all people who are on a path of self-illumination, on a path of self-knowledge, self-leadership. And when you are on a path of that means that the more light that you are bringing into this reality, the more you will be able to see in this reality. That's not always a good thing. But if you can look at this from a perspective of breathing, for me, it's like when I expand in my consciousness, it feels like my consciousness is breathing. I breathe in and my consciousness expands. And then I breathe out, my consciousness comes back with the golden nuggets. The trick is to do what your lungs know how to do intuitively. Your lungs will breathe in poisonous gases and it will breathe in, oxygen. And your body knows how to keep the oxygen, which is life-giving and you need it, and release the rest. It just says, go, I don't need you. Now you need to become that thing in your mind and heart to say, I am expanding in my consciousness, and you're expanding your consciousness in a world of polarity, which means that you will be able to see more light, but you will also see more darkness. And if you buy into darkness and try to keep it all here, it will harm you. So you need to understand, am I learning? As soon as you're learning something from the darkness, you have released it. If you're not learning from it, just carrying it around with you, say that you have a bad past, you're carrying it around with you. That is darkness, you're carrying it around. You need to learn from your body here to release it. Go back, look at it, release. Active releasing of the darkness or the heaviness is what you're supposed to do here with your heart and your mind. Just as your body knows how to release the poisonous gases that your body can't tolerate, it's the same thing here. So breathing, becoming aware of your breath, pulls you into the now moment, which allows your soul to be present. But also, when you breathe in, you send signals to your mind that says, stop thinking. There is no danger. Relax. And your body starts to relax. And it's in the breath. I think that I wrote one of my first tweets that I wrote out there is that we are like a consciousness breathing in the universe and out, in and out. And we're the gatekeeper from that stillness from within. You are the gatekeeper to the source. So your breathing is like the portal. It opens and closes, opens and closes. And if you're breathing like this, you can't let anything in from your source. Like shallow breathing will not allow anything come to you from your source. It will keep you locked in a physical body, and that means being locked in ego and in separation. And that makes you not able to explore this reality the way you were supposed to explore it here, the way your soul wants you to explore it here.
Okay, is it the right terminology, lingo, the right way to describe this when you talked about releasing those? Sorry, this is where my lingo is not going to be that good, or
It's
English.
okay.
But the shadow work is what I was trying to get to. Like Debbie Ford,
Mhm.
very much when she was alive and with us, talked about shadow work. Others have talked about it.
Mhm.
That's what you were referring to. I don't know if you use that language, but can you talk to us just a little bit more? Is that a service you offer? It's always been a part of what you do for folks. Where would you send folks if it's not? Or what's one of your favorite resources? Is it a Debbie Ford book? Is it this video? Is it this exercise? Could you spend a little bit more time on a person, helping a person, which is healing, confronting those internal forces within to release what doesn't serve?
You know, the Seth books was my portal into this. It really opened my mind to all of this. So I read all the Seth books, every single one of them, and I could recommend every one of them. And I I will recommend my own book because it will help you find that center. I might not guide you in breathing in my book, but I will always remind you, not remember you, remind you of who you truly are. When you read it, it starts to vibrate in your heart space because you know that it is the truth. You will feel the truth when you read it, and that in itself will, guide you into centering yourself. So reading any place in my book, you can read, and it will always put you in that center. Seth books, reading them, that would be background material to understand your relationship to the inner and outer world, to understand that. So understanding is one big part of it, but also simple things like, 5-5-5 breathing in, holding 5, holding your breath, counting to 5, breathing out, counting to 5. And then you extend the breathing out as much as you can. It takes a little bit practice to do this, but it's like breathing in, counting to 5, holding, counting to 5, breathing out, counting to 5. It's one of the simplest things. And you do this 10 times, you have oxygenated your body, which will send signals that all is well. And you can start seeing things from a different perspective. You can start expanding in your consciousness because fear is no longer the frequency. The higher the frequency, the more you can see in your reality. So small things like breathing, this 5-5-5 triangular breathing will help you become more present in the now moment. Then there is this path of self-knowledge to become brutally honest with yourself. Understanding why you do things the way you do them. It's not like you can have a check box and say, check, 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 done that. Life is going to be smooth flow from now on. It's not. There's always going to be obstacles. It's a question of the trust that there is something beneficial for you in that obstacle. When you get to know yourself and can release yourself from the obstacle, you have learned the lesson. And it's a long path, but it can be enjoyable when you feel that you have more control. I don't like the word control, but you know what I'm saying here. It's a question of trusting in your abilities to navigate through the landscape. And it's always about presence in the now moment, because if you're not present, you cannot do the work. You need to be present in order to do the work. And when there is an obstacle, you're per definition doing shadow work. So the presence, the giving yourself time and oxygenating your body is those 3 things that will keep you in this present moment and that will illuminate you so that you will understand yourself better. And as soon as you understand yourself, You have released things.
Mm.
It's almost like when you understand yourself, there is a forgiving frequency in that. Atonement is a magical frequency. When you can forgive yourself and others that are in that space, you create this releasing energy. You don't need to do anything. You just need to stand in that moment, allowing that frequency to be your path. And I'm not saying to forgive people who have abused you and go back there and continue to be abused. Forgiveness is something else. Like, I have forgiven my father, but I didn't speak to him for many, many years because I needed the pause from him. So forgiveness does not always mean to allow others to be there if you don't want them in your reality. To become a sovereign magician, understanding that everything that you do is going to be beneficial for you if you are present and brutally honest in it.
Okay.
That's what I can, yeah.
We're really hitting the mark again and again and again. Thank you for this, Gordon.
Yes.
Seth, I'm going to just mention Seth. I think there's a few of his books up there. The Nature of Reality Speaks or something.
Yes.
And all the others. So
Yes.
Seth to me he's really crystal clear, but it's sometimes just a little longer sentences than I'm accustomed to. And it was just the husband transcribing and Jane Roberts doing her thing.
Yes.
1970s.
Yes.
A lot of people will take shots at it and say New Age, but I'll say Seth is just a beautiful, energetic light being. And I help people here feel and see loving figures. For him, he's an exception. You see a Cheshire cat face smiling in the sky. He doesn't do bodies. And I've got 3 quotes. 2 are just part 1, part 2. This is from page 405, 1972. Seth speaks. Oh, another one of his books. The vitality of the universe, the vitality of the universe is creativity and joy and love. And that is spirituality. Anything you want to add before I go to the next quote? Because that's a beautiful quote.
Say that again. I'm sorry. Yeah.
The vitality of the universe is creativity and joy and love. And that is spirituality.
Yes. What I want to add there is the curiousness and the willingness to explore new things. That is where life starts for me, and where self-knowledge starts. You can't do it without the curiosity, becoming curious about yourself. This is why I'm saying, what is Gordana doing? Why is she doing this? That's a curious inquiry. I'm wondering, I'm not judging. I actually want to know what's going on. So becoming curious and the willingness to explore things that might look dark, but they might not be dark. Just being curious about things. So it's a beautiful quote. Yeah.
I'll put the first one just up if anybody wants to freeze frame, and then put a pretty picture with it. So, and then the next one, you can freeze frame this, but I'll read it. It's just the answers to the nature of reality, the intimate knowledge of all that is, that you all seek is within your present experience. And then part 2 of that, continuing, it will not be found outside of yourselves, but through an inner journey into yourself, through yourself, and through the world that you know.
Yes, and I love that, because the way I see this reality is reality, or the universe, or God, or whatever you want to call it, is not working for you. I know that everybody says it's working for you. It's not. It loves you unconditionally, so much so that it will allow you to be the guide. It will allow you to explore whatever you want to explore, and it will be there holding you, allowing you to explore even the darkness if you want to. So reality is actually created through you, and the universe is working through you, not for you and not against you. It's working through you. So whatever it is that you're seeing, it's like a projection out of you, and whatever it is in your reality is coming through you. It is based on the frequencies that you're vibing on, the conscious, but also the unconscious frequencies that you're vibing on. And the unconditional love of the universe, or the quantum field, or whatever you want to call it, is that it will give you, it will match that frequency perfectly. This is why you have to be present. Otherwise, you're creating unconsciously. If you are not present, if you allow ego to drive you, if you are in the past or in the future, you're actually creating an unconscious reality. And when you look at it, you'll say, I don't know how I got here, because you are not present. When you're present, you can ask yourself questions. Do I really want this? What is my intention with this? Why am I doing what I'm doing? The questions come by themselves if you just can pull out of that moment a little bit. So it is through you. And it's a very important aspect of this. It's not for you, it's through you.
Again, beautiful. Okay, last quote from Seth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, you are in physical existence to learn and understand that your energy, translated into feelings, thoughts, and emotions, causes all experiences. You've touched on it at least twice so far. Tell us a little bit more, but give us an example where either, you know, it didn't go right and you're like, oh my God, I was trying the wrong way and I don't need to try. And then it came in. Do you have a practical, tactical example from Gordana's recent experience way back when? Do you have something that is a funny one that you went the long road for a while and then you realized, lickety split, it can happen now?
I think that my book, that was one of those things, you know, like being so afraid of putting something out there, because, and wondering, what is it that I'm afraid of? Well, I'm afraid that people won't see me as the intelligent being that I am, that I will be misjudged, that people will, you know, all the crazy stuff. When I look back at this, I'm thinking, who is this person? Why is she thinking this way? But at the same time, seeing how the joy of putting out the tweets out there, that came through me. And that translated into a joy, which I later on could create a book of. So anything that is real, a real desire will always find a way to manifest in this reality when you're cooperating with the universe. And the cooperation with the universe is when you're doing what you love. Who knew that while I was sitting there in my pajamas, tweeting out stuff day in and day out, that I was writing my book? So you see how it will always come out if it's a true intention. My intention was to write a book and I daydreamed about it. But I just couldn't find the way. I didn't know how to, because the fear stopped me. All these ideas and beliefs, which are today, when I look at it, I'm like, why did I harbor these ideas? But these are old patterns from childhood. And if you do not look at it honestly and brutally honestly, it won't change. So now I can look back at it and I can say, doesn't work that way. Now I'm writing my second book, and it's so much easier because I know who I am when it comes to writing books. Of course, the universe will throw me different things later on where I feel like, okay, now we're elevating, you need something else, and it might feel as hard as writing this book. But I know by experience that if it's a desire, it will come to fruition in one way or the other. That's what the synchronicities will do in reality. Everything will work out. Always.
Okay, let's go, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention two people who do great things. And if someone wants to go there and go deeper into spirituality and understanding themselves a little bit more, it's Dr. Robert Gilbert, and he talks very much about practical things of how to connect to your heart, throat, mind, and he goes through this. There are really practical things you can get from him. And also Nassim Haramein, which he is a physicist or physicist, is it? He talks about physics.
Astrophysicist, maybe.
Yes, exactly. Quantum physics. And he's funny. He's really funny to listen to, but also he has this enormous scientific background. And it brings it, I love that. So it brings it into something more concrete and real to me when I listen to this. So these two are something that the listeners and watchers can go to.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the following or ask the question that I only get to ask every seventh show because I forget all the time.
All right.
Do angels exist, Gordana? And if the answer is yes, can you share something? You saw a ball of light one time, you met your guardian angel, it was a dream, it was this, it was that.
Mm.
Do angels exist?
I think that angels do exist. I don't think that maybe the way people perceive them, we're conditioned to perceive them in a certain way. But I do think that angels exist as archetypes, as energetic patterns in the quantum field or the universe. And when you are vibing on the correct frequency, you can tap into that archetype and it will flow through you and inspire you to do certain things in a certain way that are good for you. So if you're willing to explore that, you can tap into that pattern, so to speak. And I'll tell you a story where I feel that there was an angel there, and believe me, it did not look like an angel that is presented in the Bible. It looked like something else completely. It was before I decided that I would have children. I have one son, and I was 31 when I got my son. But before that, I felt that my life was beautiful as it was. We were traveling, doing stuff. Life was great. Why would I want to change anything? And my husband, who is an intelligent person, he said, you know what? We really need to think about this. We really need to think about having a child. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I tried to find ways of not doing this. And so one night I went to sleep and I had this profound dream. It was really profound. Like this is 27 years ago, and I still vividly remember it. So I know that it was like visiting a different reality. That's how it felt. It didn't feel like something that my mind, created. It was literally like a portal visiting a different reality. And I was standing on the top of a hill or mountain, I would say rather mountain, but with a flat top. And so I'm walking towards the edge, and there stands a very tall being, and cloaked being. And I can't see the face, it's darkness. It's like scaring the berserks out of me. And I'm standing there, and I am afraid of heights. So this was a challenge for me. I'm like looking down over the edge, and it's like very, very high up. I'm looking down, and then I feel this being's hand put on my back and just pushed me a little bit. And I'm falling off the cliff. And I'm like, fear is all I can say. Like death, fear of death. That was what it was. And I'm like falling very, very fastly down. And before I hit the ground, I find myself on the top of the hill again, or on top of the mountain again. And this time I feel like, okay, this is a game. Let's do this. So I go to the edge, and before this being pushes me, I jump. I like allow myself to fall down like this. And before I hit the ground, I'm back on top of this hill. And this time I do not even walk, I run because I want to fly. I run and I throw myself out, and I'm flying, and I can see this being standing on this mountaintop looking at me. I have no fear. There is no fear in one cell of my body, and I'm like flying like this. And this is where I made the decision that I need to jump. I need to do this, because even if I'm fearful of it, this is something I need to do. So I just flipped it around, and I don't know, a couple of weeks later, I was pregnant. So I love that dream because it showed me 3 times that there is no fear in this. The fear is in my mind. Nothing is to be feared in this reality. It's only to be explored and transformed.
I might take like 30 seconds to share a personal kind of parallel, not to be
Yes.
pregnant, but close.
Yes.
At the beginning of my journey, maybe 12, 11, 13 years ago, something like that, I would get woken up in the middle of the night, roll back over. I was the slowest poke in the West for paying attention. Even if I got out to my living room in the middle of the morning darkness, put on the TV, MTV, old movie to hide from just paying attention to angels. So it came in as a lucid dream one time where I'm in a Dickinsonian, Charles Dickens setting, England, a beautiful street, Harry Potterish, very friendly people up and down. I go into a bookstore. Of course, I'm asking every single person, are you the owner? Like, I don't know why I'm looking for the owner. And they're like, no, further back. So I literally am asking every person. And I finally get to the back. It's an old school telephone, a desk, and a beautiful older woman, Charlotte and Angel, one of my business managers, tough taskmaster at the beginning to get me to pay attention. But she's on the phone and she does the 1 second. And when she gets off, she says to me, we'll see you at the party shortly. And I wake up at that point and I go out to the living room, and I was a good American. When I started seeing feeling, not fearing, but I was jittery because I'm like, what is going on? No one tells you could happen. The universe is really big. What do I do? I'm grabbing a Sure Shot camera and taking photos. Now, this isn't the photo I took that night, but it was the first time I took a photo in my kitchen where it was the whole crew, balls of light showing up, and it was applause like, hey, he finally paid attention and was willing to like look and get with the program. We got another 10 years to bang into his head to get him into his heart. But this is a concert. I can at least show this. This is a concert, tons of angels. And joy is there in the center. And all I can do is say my photo in the kitchen wasn't as good as this. It's not foggy. It's not rain. It's lots of loving beings. And think of any concert anyone's ever been to where you got into the grand scheme of things. And I'm going to do one more dumb but personal and beautiful story, not dumb at all. I was at a different concert, same place. It's Stubbs Barbecue. If anyone goes to Austin, you have to catch a concert there. It's a traditional barbecue restaurant that was ingenious for having an amphitheater that could fit about 2,000 people. The best vibing place for Two Door Cinema Club out of Ireland or wherever, UK. M84 from France plays there. You can catch gorgeous concerts, and therefore the vibe, you're with the universe. So I'm at another concert and I'm trying to hide from talking to anybody because I'm like, whoa, all these people are spiritual. There's obviously stuff going on. I just am going to enjoy the music. And two women walk by. They're like, I think it's him. And they start talking with me, and then they leave. And then they come back later and they're like, it's definitely him. They showed me how to ground and put your energy into the ground, how to open up. And I don't really know how to wrap this up in 10 seconds, but I will. They showed me how to connect to the universe and do a thing that all I know how to say is, it felt like all the love in the universe flowed through me in the middle of the crowd. And I don't know how to express, it would be like post-surgery on your nose. The first time you get to breathe again, it feels like you have a UPS truck, a FedEx truck for nostrils. You get the biggest breath in the world, and you might spend the next 20 years looking for that breath again. It's the deep breath. But I had the greatest experience with that opening. And so with all that exuberance and enthusiasm from this end, can you tie that back to the theme that we're on today with spirituality, how there's always more openness available? We do our best to go, whoa, pull the reins on the horse and stop riding. When, as Geronimo would say, it's ride, ride, ride. Don't look back. Don't look left. Don't look right. What's your, I'll blow some sage in a little bit, but what's your, grab the gusto and go with it? You'd be surprised at how the universe responds speech for us all, or your encouragement for us all.
Well, it's always about this presence that I'm talking about. You need to be present in order to see what the universe will give you. There are signs everywhere. I mean, literally everywhere. Wherever you're going, there are signs. Like the other day, we passed a car and it said ask, and then there was a number. And my husband was like, I need to jot this down. If you are present, if you are open, I am willing to explore this would be the intention, putting it out there. When you wake up in the morning saying, I am willing to explore more. And then you go out there and be present with all of this. There are signs everywhere. We used to play a game where when we pass people, we just hear a couple of words of what they're saying. And then adding all this up during the day, you will actually have messages. Like it becomes personal. It becomes like an oracle because it is personal to you. The messages that I would read into, all the words that we would collect, would be different from what my husband would read into. So it's a question of becoming more playful with the universe, becoming more willing to look at things, becoming more curious. Now, if you're, listening to the news, if you're talking to people who are focused on this very negative energy that is going on, then that stops you from doing this. Fear will do this with you. When you say, I am willing, you open up to explore all that is, you open up like that. And everything that is between this place and that place, all that becomes visible to you. It's about the
Angel
visibility.
wings, no angel wings.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Angel wings, no angel wings.
That's funny.
Vibing on it. And it doesn't mean that you are always happy. What it means is that you are open to exploration, open and willing to see things from another perspective, to see things differently, open. And it's you, because as I said, it is you. You're the gatekeeper of allowing or resisting the sun force or the soul force, you know, the sun we were talking about. You are the gatekeeper to it. How do you shift? What do you do? Well, it's the emotions. And I'll give you one more thing before you start with the sage. Yeah. Emotions are very important. I've been doing a course where we go back in time and look at memories. And as long as you attach emotions to the memories, you cannot release them, because an emotion is anchoring you in the now moment. And here is why. A thought is outside of time and space. You pick it up, and then it will not be anchored in this world until you put an emotion to it. So if you have a thought, you have no emotions, it just goes away. But if you have a thought and this thought becomes something that you have strong emotions for, you tie it up. What are emotions? Well, it's the first manifestation in the physical world because you're feeling its vibration. The vibration, the emotion in your body, the vibrating emotion in your body is the first manifestation in the physical world. And then action, and you have it in the physical world. So again, you're the portal of this. If you can manage your emotions when you go back in your memories or when you are in, reaction mode, then you are not allowing that frequency to manifest in the physical world. So you are the gatekeeper of it. And ego will poke you and make you feel things because it wants you to anchor it so that it becomes a manifestation in this world of a negative kind. But as I said, you are here to transform negative energy into a positive manifestation. So if you're feeling a negative energy here, pull back, rephrase it, change it, go back and make it into a positive manifestation.
You're already answering a question that I've been looking for this whole time. Here's my other clipboard, which is just about the past, the future. Obviously, it's easier for humans to understand that, hey, the future can be shaped. You can enjoy it. You can also have it brought to you as you've been describing. But you also described, I think I saw, the past is malleable or changeable, or how you handle the past, as you just touched upon. And I think Seth was the one at some point that talked about it deep in his long writings everywhere. So if time's a construct of the mind, and you know that from a professor's class, it's a 1-hour class, but the professor was really good. It went by in 10 minutes, if that's the way you roll. The professor was boring. You were like, and that's when you probably saw auras on everybody's heads in front of you. It felt like 6 hours. You couldn't get out of there. Time slowed down. You were like, you pretty much wrote your book during that class. We know there's some leeway here, and we've got so many other examples. Talk to us just a little bit more, because you started just to touch on it. It was beautiful about even past lives might be concurrent from another point of view elsewhere in the universe. Let's say it's malleable. More love you do here, the more it bleeds in and over into everything else. I don't know. You know how to handle this, Gordana. What can you talk to more about that past, how you can lighten up about it and how it'll shift, and in so doing you shift?
Well, it's a question of not allowing your emotions to take over and manifest everything, because the past is just information. It becomes real to you in this now moment as soon as you put an emotion to it. And you can't look at your memories if you're afraid of feeling, pain, hurt, loneliness, whatever it is that is anchoring that memory in your reality. Why you remember the memory is because it was conditioning. It made an impact. It made a scar on your ego. And then when you remember it in the now moment, you put this emotion to it, and it won't allow you to see the information. It will only allow you to feel the pain. If you can see the information without the emotion, you will become the observer, which means that you will be able to see more. You will be able to see how you handled it. You will be able to see your strength. You will be able to see your survival technique, and you can use that later on in your life. But if your emotion stops you from doing this, you cannot change it. So the past can be changed, not the information that is there. I mean, the people that were there, the place, the time, whatever, not changed. But the relationships and the emotions that went through, that can be shifted. You can see your strength in that. I've been doing this for many, many years, and this is how I cleanse the past, you know, the stones that you're carrying like Sisyphus all the time. You can release them. Usually when I look at it, it's golden nuggets for me. I can use it. And it's all about the survival technique, because here it is. If you are able to remember something, then that means that you made it. You're here. That in itself is a success. Now you have to go back and see, how did you do to save yourself from that? So there are many, many techniques you can use to do this, but one of the things is to understand that nothing is written in stone. Your past is not written in stone. And just the fact that you're sitting here today means that there is benefit there. You survived this. How did you do that? What is your survival mechanism? Sometimes a survival mechanism can be a negative thing. You became a people pleaser. But you can look at it and say, well, I don't need to be that anymore. How would it look like if I weren't? And then you start molding a new image of yourself that is not dependent on what you felt or thought, or, you know, the etheric things that happened in the past. Fact is there, and then you can look at it from a not emotional space to be able to extract the truth about it.
Look, super wisdom there. And I'm going to point something out, which is, if we could go back in time from this perspective, linear, we're so limited when we're up here.
Yes.
That we would maybe want to rewrite the event. 1970, when I was 2, my dad died in the Navy off the coast of Italy. It was this Navy fighter pilot type. But instead of doing it that way, you're effectively rewriting it, understanding why it came to you, why it happened the way it did, how it shaped your foundation, helped you, boosted you, whatever the words are. And that's beautiful how you described all that, of what you've described many times earlier in this interview, of flipping it and looking for the point of light, because then you realize, oh my gosh, it happened for me in this way. It allowed me to have my path as a healer. It's not important what those details are, but that is incredible. And there you really have shifted the past, or the past has changed because of your treatment.
Yes, because you can only experience the past from the now moment. And if you change, then the past has changed too. It has no emotional bonds anymore. There are no chains there. And you can look at things that might be really bad. I'll give you an example. When I moved away from home, I was 19, and my father, who was a very traditional father coming from the Balkans, you do not move away from home without getting married. That would be the death of the family. So he just ruled me out. When neighbors asked him, where is your daughter? He would answer, I have no daughter. She is dead. And I went back into this memory for 10 or 15 years, and I felt abandoned, like an orphan. How could he do this to me? This is how I felt. I felt very strongly about that. And then when I started doing this work, going back in my memories and releasing myself from the emotions and just looking at it, I could see this from a very high perspective, that maybe his higher self found a way to release me from the pain that he was causing me without giving me guilt. He took the guilt by saying, I do not know. His human didn't know it, but his higher self knew it. So if I can look at it from that perspective, no harm done, because actually I was feeling very good about not being in contact with him. It gave me an opportunity to see the world from my own perspective, to be, evolving into the human being that I am without him controlling me. He gave me that opportunity. He did it in a clumsy way, saying I'm I'm dead, but that's all good. As long as I keep him hostage in that moment as the bad guy and me as the victim, I will, yes, I cannot release myself from this. But if I look at myself and I say, wait, I'm not a victim because actually this was good for me, and look back at it and say, maybe he did this without, without knowing that his higher self was speaking through him. The same thing goes with my mother leaving me as a 4-month baby to my aunt. Maybe if she would have kept me, it would have been horrible. So instead of feeling like an orphan, I actually felt like a very illuminated being who can change my past like a magician. You see, the flipping is the real thing. And it's not about lying. It's about looking at the truth and looking at different perspectives at the same thing and seeing what is beneficial for me. The rest isn't. It's like the breathing I was talking about. It's toxic. Why would I keep it? Like, I need to release it.
Feeling good, you just said, and then breathing was another thing, the way you just said it, but staying open and letting the universe come in, letting illumination come into whatever you think the event was, whether it was just last week or in childhood.
Yes.
I'm going to read 4 or 5 quotes from mostly angels about defining compassion. There's only like trillions of layers of compassion the more you open up. So never ending journey, hearing endless definitions of compassion. But here are some, and if we can combine that with the breathing, staying open, the illumination, the allowing with a capital A, can you take it one more time in your beautiful Gordana patented way? Jesus said compassion, this is like in 2014, is an open eyes and open heart. Raphael said compassion is releasing fears and judgments. Abe, the Abraham of old, an angel, said not judging. Compassion's not judging, taking action with no thought. And just 3 more. Dale, an angel, said just being and trusting the outcome to be of the highest intent for all, which I think is really tying back into some of those events we all go through. Mac said treating every moment with the awareness of a newborn baby is her definition of compassion. I love that. Good luck with that. That's twice a year for all of us. And the final one is from Dullknife, a Native American chief. I think he was Cheyenne historical. Compassion is being kind to yourself and letting go of past failures and accomplishments in the now. I thought that was deep too. So with all that, it must have sparked something just to add one more little icing layer to the cake that we've made here. What do you have for us?
Yeah, well, it's about the thing that really hit me was that seeing things as if it was for the first time. And this is especially important in relationships because we tend to keep each other hostage in the past and see through the layers of the past without seeing the human being that is standing in front of us. And this makes a lot of relationships end because you're not capable of releasing all the past veils that is between you when you speak. So seeing someone as for the first time would be to be present in the now moment with an open heart, with no judging, and being able to see when the other person is ego triggered and forgive them for that ego trigger and stay in this openness, still looking at them as if it were the first time, as if you don't know anything. Because if you listen at the person with the frequency of not knowing anything, you will be curious to hear what that person has to say, and you will actually hear what they're saying. You will not be hearing your own judgment and your own voice while you're listening to them. You will actually be present with them because you don't know what's coming. If you are speaking to them with the layers of the past, you will be one step ahead. Oh, dear God, there he is again. He's back at it again, blah, blah, blah. You're not present. But there is this condition that you have to stay there, even if they're speaking through their ego, and not allow yourself to be ego triggered. This is how you stop that back and forth tennis like match going between the ego. Because if I speak from my ego, I will trigger your ego, and it becomes a shallow conversation where we think we know everything about each other and we judge each other. If I can allow myself to be present in my soul and be authentic by listening to you, I create a safe space between us where you feel that you can be authentic because I won't judge you. Just one second. I won't judge you, which means that you can open up and allow your soul to be present. And when there is a soul to soul conversation, it becomes a conscious conversation. And that is where the magic happens. So if I can see you from soul to soul, non-judging, as if it were the first time we were speaking, we are actually in connection with each other. Otherwise, we're not. So I love that. That thing really sparked something in me when you said seeing things as if it were for the first time. That is how you experience awe in nature, like looking at a sunset or a sunrise and say, oh, I've seen that. What? It's never been seen before. This is it. It's in the now moment. Nothing is actually being seen before or after. That's it. The now moment is all there is.
Okay, and two more quotes because you did really well with that. That was so gorgeous. So you. My
Okay.
dad, who's passed over in 1970, but said, love where you are and trust all is good. That was his definition of compassion. And then about mankind and the whole bigger picture, what's going on for us? Is it call it a spiritual awakening? Some will say if you wish, but it just means more flow, more chances to breathe, be open, conscious, move up the scale a little. Sylvia Brown said, see the bigger picture, what every action from you is reflecting to others, both consciously and unconsciously. And I thought that was tied into what you just said. So
Yes, absolutely. Understanding that the world is a mirror and the mirror won't change until you change.
beautiful.
That's
Okay,
all.
patented move on the show. Speaking of patents, we're really an intellectual property show here. I've got a red-tailed hawk feather. I've got a tea light that's blue from Crate and Barrel, one of those rainbow shells. I forgot the name. Sage, a lighter. I'm going to light some. We did this before the show. So from Texas to Sweden, we know it works, but we've done this last year, 50 shows. We're booked all the way to 113 or 112 shows into March 2025. But it looks like June 1st, we're going to start running 2 shows a week for folks. So if you're a guest watching, guess what? You were booked for November. You might be able to move that up by 3 months because for June, July, and August, it looks like we're going to go 2 shows a week to see what happens. And lots of wonderful guests coming, all different types and backgrounds, healers, maybe a former U.S. Senator. It'd be wonderful to have that person on in America, U.S. Senator. Okay, here's a little bit of sage smoke. It's obviously lit. It's just light, sage, plant medicine, consciousness, whatever you want. Catch what you'll allow yourself to catch. If you don't mind, my only rule is just ask angels to make it nice, bring it to you. And ask for flowers. Why settle for just sage? Ask for your beach flowers you haven't had in a decade and beach smell if you want. Gordana, what are you getting in Sweden, in Malmö, Sweden?
I'm actually getting rosemary. I don't know why, but it's rosemary.
Yes. Good. Okay. But will you ask for even more? Like if you want to close your eyes now and get wave action, but you're not allowed to get Swedish cold weather water right now, icy cold. Go for a warm climate. It could be Spain. It could be off of India. It could be Hawaii. What are you getting, do you think, in your nostril? Like it's a peppermint patty commercial. Calgon, take me away if I can be cheesy 80s advertising commercials. Or Old Spice, men's deodorant. They always have great beach scenes. You don't need the white stallion in the background. What are you getting for a extra vibe from your crew, from the universe, from just letting go?
For me, it's like a little bit of cedar tree. Rose, it's still there. It's not like rosemary, it's rose. A touch of vanilla is here too.
Awesome. Great job. I'll put up a photo of an angel. It's a photo. There's no one way about the photos. They'll move, change color. It's multidimensional.
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. You can just see directly on your ceiling or out in the yard, full on. But what you can do if you wish, if you would, get a compliment. Don't have to share it out loud, but if you don't mind, do it because you deserve compliments. And then we all deserve compliments. But I would also say she can give you a topic because you're so good at taking us somewhere painting as you go. She'll give you a topic that you might be like, I don't have to read quotes anymore. We'll just have Joy, an angel, remind you of something. But first, get a compliment. Let us know when you got the compliment. If you want to just say it was a good one, that's awesome. Get a whoosh down your back. Catch those different flowers maybe again. Wisteria, lavender, or something. And people can do this at home. Put your hand out. You can feel what you want to feel, like she's a fireplace, but get sparkles instead or rose vibration. And what'd you get?
Well, this is awesome because you're at the center of the universe, but so is everyone else, and that is eternity.
Absolutely.
Because, yeah, because if I am at the center of the universe and you're at the center of the universe, then there are no boundaries anywhere. Everything is the center. It's like it's something about a circle and a dot and center of the universe, understanding that everything is a reflection of me in my world. Everything is a reflection of you in your world. And we are connected through the center in you and the center in me. It's like the flower of life. That's how it translates to me, like the flower of life. And flower being the rose. Funny. Yeah.
I'm going to try to read just less than 2 paragraphs of real paragraphs here. Should be just 30 seconds of this is angel writing from 2014 out of my Listening to Angels book. Being in the moment is to do compassion for all. For individuals, an egoless path would be great, but it's just not realistic. Allow ego to serve as a reminder when it pops up. A reminder for what? You decide. How about a reminder to breathe? How about a reminder to enjoy each moment as it comes? Believe that all moments can be the same. Whether it's a moment at work or a moment looking at nature, all moments are the same and peaceful. Only thinking something can interfere with this. And we're getting to the thing that you just touched on that I thought about this. Likewise, there are not separate paths for mankind or separate worlds for individuals. One is one. Through awareness and owning the consequences of one's thoughts and actions, a person begins to see how all of life is truly interconnected and one. Could you take it from there? No pressure.
No pressure at all. No, but we've been talking about this the entire conversation that we've had is about being one. And the image that I got from Joy was the flower of life. This is how we are connected. We're all, yes, exactly. We're all connected. It might seem like we connect through surface, but we actually connect to the stillness from within. And that makes this thing one. It's like God veiling herself in order to forget that God can do anything. And that's how a human being is created, because we don't remember that we are one, that we are the stillness, that we are the source, that we are God. We don't remember that. So that's where all the problems exist in the world. But if we can remember that we're one, there are no problems, actually. Everything is solvable in a way, resolving the boundaries between us in a sense. So the flower of life, coming back to that again, how we touch with the surface, but the surface is an illusion, but we're playing with the illusion here. So accepting everything as a play, as an adventure, accepting it as a way to get to know oneself better, even though we are all playing the roles of dying gods and goddesses here. Yeah.
And I don't remember much, but when I do, when you were speaking, this is what popped up. Human to human interaction allows for soul to soul interaction. I thought that was always beautiful, that it was filed away somewhere up here. Two more
Mhm.
angels. We'll do an angel named
Charlotte.
Charlotte, and we'll do an archangel named Michael. Everyone knows Archangel Michael, sorry. But I'll put up Charlotte. Get what you will from her. She's a little bit older, a teacher. You know, if anyone wants to remember third form's Mrs. Wilson or third grade's Mrs. Johansson, whoever didn't get you in trouble that you liked, think of her as her. And catch a vibe. If anybody wants an incense from like ancient Egypt that's you can't buy in Egypt today, you can't get it in India, catch that in the air and you'll feel extra calm, whatever you'll allow for. And she'll pulse. A couple of two different New Zealanders who don't know each other had her light showing in the photo. So even though we know this is a boring, just one-dimensional photo, you can have extra if you'll just allow for it. But my tip is hands off the face, breathe, allow. Let her do her job, and you'll get actual light, or you'll see a face in the photo, or you just get blue sparkles all around you in the air. You won't have to vacuum afterwards, so no angry comments that I ruined your carpeting with tons of angelic sparkles. Okay, what'd you get, Gordana? It looks like you.
Yeah, it was very fast here. This is why I was waiting because I got the message very fast, and it's about expansion, not aggressive expansion. It's about a bubbly expansion. And this is how we grow. It's allowing that expansion to come out. And for me, it was like expansion to the place where you start retracting back again to harvest the knowledge. So it's the way that I got the messages, like it's expanding. You're opening. But then there is a boundary that you reach for that specific expansion, and then you pull it back into the center. And pulling it back into the center means to take what feels good, release the rest. That's the lesson in that. And then again, expansion and pulling it back. So it's an expanding frequency. I got that.
I love it. Okay, we'll do Archangel Michael. If you have a final request after that for a figure like Mary or someone, we'll do that. And then we'll cover some final topics and we'll go from there. Here's Archangel Michael. Feel what you feel. Do not judge for folks out there. If you want to use your hand, you want to breathe, you want to close your eyes, leave your eyes on Michael. If you want to hear singing, allow for angelic singing, but it could have a touch of Rolling Stones from the movie Big Chill that I forgot the name of that song, but they've got a choir at the beginning. And good.
For me, it would be like it's a message. It's not like Charlotte, I see the expansion. It's more like you are safe. It would be tied into who you truly are cannot be hurt by anything. So you can always tap into that. It's about courage. It's about being trusting. So that would be it. I got it from you cannot be hurt by anything. You are safe. Those are the things. It's almost like a song. You cannot be hurt by anything with music on it. Yeah.
I'll put out 5 names, but if there's someone else, name it. If it's Ganesh from India, the Sai Baba from 110 years ago, Sri Shirdi Sai Baba. If it's the Big Mary, if it's Elvis Mandela, MLK, if it's Mother Teresa, Jesus, is there another figure you wouldn't mind having up? The tiger on the wall is the one that the Divine Mother rides on in India. I'm not an India expert, but you can meet the Divine Mother. The tiger is awesome. Pure action. Feel the tiger for who Thich Nhat Hanh, Chogyam Trungpa. Is there anyone that's a final request here?
Yep, as I said before, when we started this, Mary comes to mind. There is something about the mother frequency there that is exciting.
Okay, and as people do this, you can this is a historical photo from like the 80s, maybe 90s, I don't know. But just use this for Mary. The eyes will sparkle for you more, the mouth will smile for you more, and we know that's not possible when we're up here. I agree with you, but it happens all the time. So just have more fun, allow. Let Mary do her job and catch a little bit of rainbow light somehow. If you close your eyes, you'll see it on your eyelids. You want the glitter sparkles in the air around you. Again, don't sue me for carpet cleaning tomorrow. It's just angelic light or universal love. And might as well catch flowers as well, or something that really brings you back to your center. You haven't had in a while. Like that just amazing feeling when you have guests over and it's a really nice conversational evening, camaraderie. And I'll pull back. Gordana, what have you got for us?
It's about forgiving. I'm getting this energy about forgiving, like the mother frequency. It's like a safety net in your life. It doesn't matter what you've been doing. What matters is who you are. And that mother will always be able to see who you are, not to judge you by what you're doing, but who you are. Like an unconditional love and acceptance. It's almost like the universe, the way I explained it. It will be there for you. It will give you opportunities to explore even the bad things if you want, because it will always catch you if you fall. And with that Mary frequency, it's the same thing for me. It's like allowing the children to play and guarding them, but on a distance, not disturbing their play, just guarding them. And if something bad might happen, she will be there to help them. That is what I get.
Beautiful. Final act, and it's optional. So I'll put up Michael, Charlotte, Joy. You can get a yes, why not? It takes just 10 seconds. It's me stepping out a little bit more to do energy. I would only my highest intent with angels really doing everything. I'd put my hand out. You'd feel my energy. I'd feel yours through two screens, but only the highest intent. And I'll whoosh you rainbow light. It's something I've only been doing like 6 months a year, but you'll feel it. And the first two will be sandbagged. Like just feel it. The third, privately get whooshed, and whatever you need. If it's you've got to go sailing in a week, it's going to be cold, which I don't think you're going to go sailing right now. It's too cold. And you're like, oh, I don't know. But ask for what you want. Wind in your sails. Again, take me out of the picture, please. Let it be angels, universal light, whatever you want to call it. Is this a good idea? And Michael, Charlotte, and Joy, I'll try to hold them up. Do they say A-OK and we're good?
Yes, absolutely.
Good, because I haven't gotten a no yes, but I'm ready for it. We're good no matter what we're doing. Okay, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
put my hand up. We'll connect, but it's just the highest intent. None of my drama, my thinking, just fun. And yeah, thank you. And
Let me
let me
see.
know when you feel a little bit of sparkle, warmth, fun. Hopefully, touch wood, touch cardboard, touch wood.
Feeling it, feeling
Good.
it.
And now I'm gonna whoosh you. It's just 5 seconds each, but here comes the first one. Rainbow light your way, Gordana in Malmö, Sweden. Ooh, I feel heat on my palm. And did you get that okay?
Yes, I did.
Numero dos. And here we go. And the third, and okay on that one as well. Okay.
Absolutely.
The third one, can we let angels just lead the charge even more? And may there be sparkles, rainbow glitter around you or something. Who knows? And how was that? Was that nice?
Amazing. Firework.
Okay. And if you don't mind taking 10 to 20 seconds to just give us more description, because you're teaching me, you're teaching anyone else, I have no idea. We're all energetic beings. And if you just think of someone that you love without, you don't have to interfere. You can send that light to their angels. They'll know how to distribute it. But you can take it. You don't have to be on a subway car to wave to a stranger. I mean, do that. That's showing compassion and helping validate their existence. But you can also just randomly do an act of kindness to that teacher from third grade. It'll reach them if they're still alive. What words can you use for that third one to just add some more flavor for 10 seconds? Then we're going to wrap up.
As I said, fireworks,
Oh.
sparkly, rainbow colors, and there's sound like champagne.
Oh, wow.
That's how it felt. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for doing that. You've been so patient on the show today. What would you want to leave us with, I was going to say leave the other way, leave with us, leave us with as a topic, a reminder how it's so simple and it's here because I do need to do a couple bits of praise for you. You literally are singing, I am the light, shine, be, and showing other people their light. Should have said that as the intro. Also, you help everyone else have reverence for their journey, whether they've figured out that they're in one or not. I'm about to cry. You help people appreciate that there is a journey and to get going like this and explore. And finally, oh, there's another bigger one too. Again, life is a dream, the whole perception that you need to just own that a little more. You have a bigger Sherlock Holmes glass than you realize, and then you can toss it. You don't even need it. Life's a dream, and every move is a reflection of who you are. So get going, creating and allowing and letting go, most importantly, of what doesn't serve. Talk to us just a little, and that's how you're so fabulous at this. Could you leave us with a final, the whole shebang?
I'll leave you with helping you remember who you truly are. So I would need you to put your hand on your heart. Can you, on your heart, yes. And I want you to close your eyes and breathe in and breathe out. And do it again. Breathe in and breathe out. And the last time, breathe in and breathe out. And repeat after me. I am the light in the darkness.
I am the light in the darkness.
I am the love in the hate.
I am the love in the hate.
I am the calmness in the storm.
I am the calmness in the storm.
And I am the courage in the fear.
I am the courage in the fear.
There you go. Now you know who you are.
Oh, I like that. And I was seeing like I don't know, it's a wine colored between pink and red. I was seeing an energy here that was cute. Good. Sorry. More comforting and more compassionate is the proper language.
Oh, the language is always, it doesn't matter the language, it's the feeling that you get from it. What I want you to remember, and everybody watching this, is to always go back into being the calmness, the love. That is who you are. Everything else is just a persistent illusion in time and space. So realizing that you are, if there is a fear, then you're supposed to tap into your courage. If there is a storm, you're supposed to tap into your calmness. Otherwise, you're in the motion, and that is not your true identity. That is your creation. Your true identity is the creator, being the stillness, the love, the calmness, and the courage. That's who you are.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Understanding the non-flow or flow that's like a trickle when you're up here versus when you're here, and then doing something about it or letting go, not doing, to be. Whichever way you want to describe that, to just simply flow more. Scrooge, let's end with Scrooge. Dental floss, too wide open, and you are a jovial, good business person still, but glowing, radiant, from cranky old man. You know, that's all of us on any given day, by the way, that barometer or the pendulum. And good luck with that. Ebb and flow in life. Welcome to being human. Welcome to the eternal questions. I certainly know Gordana Biernat in Malmö, Sweden. She was a SuperSoul 100 Oprah teacher, still is, and amazing instructor, amazing person who reminds us to be in our hearts, to love more, allow more. Thank you, Gordana, for being on Angels, Positivity, and Love. So wonderful to have you on.
Thank you so much, Michael, for having me here.